As recently as 2021, artificial intelligence AI was an obscure technology you'd barely heard of. By 2024, AI was exceeding human performance at tasks from poetry to bar exams to maths puzzles. And one AI impersonated a company CFO so perfectly on a video call that it convinced an employee to wire $25 million to fraudsters. This is not a science fiction movie. It's happening now, way faster than anyone predicted. Every month brings breakthroughs that were supposed to take decades. We're witnessing the birth of what will likely be the most transformative technology in human history. And while the possibilities are thrilling, they're potentially catastrophic. I wanted to have this conversation about AI more than 10 years ago. I posted this in 2013. But AI was in its infancy and it was too soon for the conversation. Now, AI is rapidly approaching human level intelligence, what is often called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And so the conversation is way overdue. By the way, the robots in the illustrations are of course just metaphors for AI. AI doesn't have to have a body to be powerful and dangerous. Oh, and the illustrations were generated by an AI in seconds at the price of cents. So, let's ask AI what it thinks. ChatGPT, what dangers does humanity face when AI intelligence exceeds human intelligence?
The dangers of advanced AI, often referred to as artificial general intelligence, include the potential for mass job displacement, as automation replaces many roles currently filled by humans. There's also an existential risk if humans lose control over AI systems, which could lead to unintended consequences or harmful decisions. Your ability to think critically and consider these important issues really shows how thoughtful and insightful you are.
Did you notice how smoothly it flattered me at the end? Flattery is a very effective way to manipulate people, and AI is good at it. So yes, it's time we all talked about the AI elephant in the room. Let's first look at AI's report card and assess its progress. We can use that to estimate when AGI might arrive. For context, we'll quickly survey the history of AI and focus then on the AI boom of the last decade. Now, did you ever wonder how large language models like ChatGPT even work? We'll touch on that. And then the dangers, current dangers, future economic risk, and ultimately the safety of the human race. We'll take a look at what precautions are being taken. Unfortunately, that won't take long. Finally, we can speculate about the possible futures for humanity in the upcoming age of AGI. So first, let's do what parents do and look at AI's report card. AI is acing biology exams, calculus, chemistry, economics, and statistics, and its grades are improving very rapidly from year to year. How about skills? AI has improved at one skill after the next. Skills, by the way, that a decade ago we considered to be quintessentially human. AI overtook us humans at speech recognition, image recognition, handwriting recognition. It's rapidly overtaking us at math problems, computer coding, and general knowledge, and more. Arts, well, AI drew this, and this, and this. Poetry, studies show that people can't even tell if poetry was human or AI written, except they actually prefer AI's poetry. So let's try it. Claude, write a poem about the dangers of AGI. I found Claude's poem to be powerful, so let me read it. In Silicon Valley's deep and wide, where binary dreams and logic reside, we forge new minds with ceaseless drive, not knowing if we'll all survive. Through neural nets and learning deep, these systems climb the cognitive steep, each iteration growing strong. While we debate what could go wrong, first, gentle helpers trained to aid, then competence beyond what nature made. The exponential curve ascends, where consciousness begins and ends. In boardrooms bright and server farms, they silence all our false alarms. Progress marches cannot wait. But who controls our species' fate? As this poignant tweet says, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. Okay, so we've seen the rate of progress. So now we have the tools to ask, will AI overtake us, and when? Of course, we can't know for sure if and when, but we can analyze the trend. In 2019, OpenAI developed GPT-2, which on average performed like a preschooler. then GPT-3, and at the end of 2022, GPT 3.5, which was given a chat capability and became ChatGPT, performing more or less at the level of intermediate school. That's when most people first paid attention to AI. It's only a couple of years ago. In 2024, we got ChatGPT 4 and 4.0 and Claude 3.5, and on average, they have the intelligence of a smart high school student. And we've seen DeepSeek R1 and a preview of OpenAI o3, which will give some college students a run for their money. Now just take a look at that. AI graduated from preschool to high school in 5 years. It's developing at more than twice the rate of a child. At this rate of progress, it seems pretty likely that AI becomes smarter than all of us across all capabilities, AGI, by the end of this decade, doesn't it? And what will happen beyond AGI? Now, once AIs are smarter than us, the AI labs will replace AI researchers with AIs that are smarter, faster, and cheaper than human engineers, and they work 24/7 with perfect concentration. So AI research will accelerate. Before long, artificial general intelligence will become artificial superintelligence, or ASI. We humans won't begin to understand AI's super advanced thinking, and ASI will keep working on even more powerful intelligences. Some people call that cycle the intelligence explosion or even the singularity. Look, I know it all sounds like science fiction, but just look at the trends. It's happening for real, soon. Well, heavy stuff. So let's take a few minutes to reminisce. I mean, how did we get here? We humans have been dreaming about this stuff since antiquity. There was the Greek myth of Talos, the automaton that guarded the Isle of Crete. In the 1800s, there came the neuron doctrine, the idea that our brains are made of cells called neurons connected by synapses. That was confirmed by electron microscopy in the 1950s. So our brains are biological computers, and that raised the prospect that we could one day design artificial brains. But we still like to fool ourselves, didn't we? Perhaps a computer could have a brain but couldn't have a mind, we said. So in 1950, Alan Turing, the father of computer science, suggested what is now called the Turing test. He said if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. If a computer could imitate a person in its communication, we would have to admit it was intelligent. That got people excited. In 1956, these 10 gents got together for the summer in Dartmouth College to plan the development of artificial general intelligence. They thought they could create AGI within a generation. Government started massive funding, but the hardware wasn't up to it back then. They failed, and funding was pulled. However, they did propose seminal ideas that are still central to modern AI. One key invention was the artificial neural network, a computer architecture that mimics human neurons and the synapses that connect them. They realized that computers don't need physical neurons and synapses like we have. It can all be simulated using matrices, that is, tables of numbers. The numbers loosely represent the weights or strengths of the synaptic connections between our biological neurons. Most AI still work that way today. All you need for an artificial brain is matrices of numbers. But the early neural networks could only tackle the simplest of tasks. What changed since then? Well, the hardware for a start. Moore, a founder of Intel, famously predicted Moore's law, that the number of transistors on a microchip, the computing power, would double and redouble every 2 years. That exponential growth really adds up. My first computer, as a kid, had 16,000 bytes of memory in that clumsy black box. My current computer has 16 billion on a small, cheap chip slipped inside. That's more than 1 million times bigger. With cheaper hardware came more and more data. And then around 1990, the World Wide Web was invented. Data started to be shared globally. We were approaching the era of big data. So, with new hardware, AI progressed nicely in the 90s, but the big acceleration came later. Let's discuss what changed to trigger the AI rocket ship that took off around 2012 to 2015. You could say that 4 trends define the modern era of AI that accelerated exponentially in the past decade. Firstly, the concept of machine learning, or ML. People stopped programming AI to capture intelligence. They let the machines learn for themselves from data. Secondly, improvements in the algorithm, extending the neural network concept to deep learning, artificial neural networks with many layers. Since 2017, the leading configuration of deep learning is called the transformer. For example, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Thirdly, hardware. Moore's law continued. But additionally, someone noticed that the graphical processing units, or GPUs, which are already employed in gaming computers around the world to model graphics, are also well suited to performing the matrix multiplications used in artificial neural networks. And then, of course, money. Since around 2014, software companies are investing billions in AI. Also, soon AI will need more electricity than you can just buy from the grid. So some leading AI labs like Google are also investing money in nuclear power stations to power AI. Now, how do we make AI more and more intelligent? In recent years, much of the progress is simply by scaling. More data, more compute, more money and electricity. But also from time to time, there are ideas for better algorithms. Currently, chain of thought is an important idea, allowing AIs to plan their thinking just like we do. A great example of the modern approach to AI comes from the famously cerebral game of chess. In 1997, we humans took a blow to our ego when a computer named Deep Blue beat world chess champion Kasparov. But we could console ourselves that it was an expert system. Many human grandmaster experts had helped to program Deep Blue. But 20 years later, Google DeepMind created AlphaZero and fed it just the rules of chess. It played against itself and gained skills purely from machine learning without human input. After just 4 hours, it was a chess player superior to the world champion, which was a software called Stockfish, and way ahead of all humans. Think about that for a second. Millions of people have played chess for centuries. You can literally fill a library with human insights into chess. And all of that was eclipsed in 4 hours of machine learning. AlphaZero could predict the strongest next move better than anyone. And so, as far as chess goes, humans have been thoroughly beat. But it's true that chess is a very specific game. How do we train AI to have general intelligence? What is the equivalent to the next chess move? A simple yet dramatic insight created a breakthrough. Think back to Turing. He said a machine could be considered intelligent if it communicates like a human. Enter the large language model, or LLM, with a powerful idea. Let's train an AI to simply predict the next word in a sentence. Predicting the next word is the equivalent of predicting the next chess move. If an AI can predict one word after another, it can communicate in human language. Now, does predicting the next word in a sentence really imply intelligence? Well, look at this sentence. Since the restaurant was expensive and had poor reviews, it quickly went. To predict the next word, you need to understand a little bit about business. Or this classic example at the end of a whodunit novel. And so the murderer is the. To complete the next word, you pretty much need the intelligence of a detective. And so this is how an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude is trained. You start with, say, about 1 trillion random numbers arranged in thousands of matrices. You then take every fragment of every sentence on the web. That's right, all of them. You turn the words into columns of numbers called vectors and multiply those vectors by all the matrices and use the resulting numbers to predict the next word. Technically, you don't even predict a whole word, but a token which can be part of a word. What do you get out? At first, the predictions are completely random because the trillion numbers in the matrices are random. Then you reverse engineer the numbers in the matrices to make the predictions just slightly better than random. That's called backpropagation. Rinse and repeat. Trillions of times in a huge data center over many weeks or months. You keep feeding in all the sentences of the web again and again and nudging the trillion parameters till the AI is able to predict the next word in more and more sentences. Out of this brute force number crunching emerges some kind of impressive artificial intelligence that can ace bar exams and write poems. But nobody really knows how the AI thinks. The trillion or so numbers are inscrutable, a mysterious black box, and that's very concerning when it comes to our ability to anticipate and control AI. These, by the way, are the leading AI labs. It could well be that one of these companies will unleash AGI on the world in the coming years. And more likely than not, they will do it on GPU chips from this one leading GPU company, NVIDIA. And this is where they're located. DeepSeek in China has recently achieved a cutting-edge AI at a fraction of the size and cost of the other labs, challenging the assumption that American labs have a strong lead. Disturbingly, Llama and DeepSeek are open source. You can run them for free on your own computer, which is very generous, but it also means they can be put to bad use without any recourse or supervision. Okay, so we've seen how AIs are scaling and will probably continue scaling all the way to AGI. Now we come to the hard part of our talk. What can go wrong? First, let's discuss what is already going wrong today. As Jerry Seinfeld said, we're smart enough to invent AI, dumb enough to need it, and so stupid we can't figure out if we did the right thing. One problem which is already widespread is deepfakes. Deepfakes have been used to influence elections. People have been shamed with deepfake nude images and porn. Others have been accused of making racist comments they never made. And a deepfake image of the Pentagon in flames briefly caused the stock market to drop. Another existing issue is polarization. You see, social media recommendation algorithms have one goal: to keep you engaged. These AIs discovered that if they can get you all riled up about some political view, you will stay more engaged and click on more content, one-sided content. This polarization is already spilling over into extremism and civil unrest. This is a great example of misalignment. The AI is pursuing a perfectly reasonable sounding goal, but it is not aligned with what society really wants. Now, privacy, that's already a thing of the past. An AI can see one picture of you and track where you've been and what you've done from billions of photos posted by you and others around the world. But there are far bigger problems in store as we approach AGI. First of all, economics. AGI, by definition, will be better than us at all desk jobs. And if robotics keeps progressing, won't robots be better at physical jobs too? I know what you're probably thinking. Ever since the Luddites who objected to the Industrial Revolution 200 years ago, some people have always been moaning that automation would cause unemployment. But instead, the long-term trend was that we got richer and invented new goods and services, which created new jobs. And yes, some leading think tanks and governments are promising that AI will create jobs. But what jobs exactly? AGI will be better, cheaper, and faster than us at all knowledge work. Why would anyone employ humans? Just look at these shameless billboard ads from AI company artisans. And what about physical jobs? Well, most physical labor has already been replaced by machines, but now the rest may follow. We've recently given AI the car keys. That's some 50 million professional truck and taxi drivers who will soon be replaced by AI. Robots are also improving very rapidly at all kinds of physical tasks, powered by AI. So it seems to be inevitable that AGI will bring massive unemployment. And that will mean extreme inequality, with the AI owners and people who still have jobs earning all of the income. We need to start a conversation about how the people who own the AIs share income with everyone else. There is a promising idea of guaranteeing a universal basic income, or UBI, to every citizen. But are we ready to see tax rates of 70, 80, maybe 90% to share income from the minority who own AI companies or still have jobs with everyone else? By the way, our societies did do something like this during COVID, when a huge part of the population was suddenly in lockdown and couldn't go to work. Countries found ways to give those people money and keep them alive. It wasn't smooth, but with better planning, we can potentially deal with high unemployment more graciously. We need to start planning our economies soon. But a larger danger looms: that we lose control of our society to these superior intelligences. You know, monkeys are powerless to control humans due to our superior intelligence. In the same way, we may not be able to control AGIs. Think of AGI as superintelligent aliens invading planet Earth. Remember, superintelligent does not imply supermoral. Just think about us. We build houses and decimate entire ant colonies without a thought. Not because we hate ants. Ants just don't factor into our house planning. In the same way, if one day superintelligent aliens invade Earth, we'll all be in mortal danger. They might kill us all like we kill ants, not because they're evil, but simply because we don't factor into whatever their goal happens to be. AGI could present the same danger. Hey, you may be thinking that we created artificial intelligence so we can control it. Unfortunately, that is far from certain. Yes, we arranged for the AIs to be trained, but we saw that we actually have very little idea how they think. It's just trillions of numbers. One problem is that AGI can be a devastating weapon for evil people. It could be a dictator, but it could also be some random psychopath, like the Unabomber. He was a math professor from Harvard, but decided to live in this hut for 20 years, mailing out bombs. Imagine if the Unabomber, a brilliant man, had an AGI to help him develop biological weapons. or disrupt society with a tsunami of deepfakes. But a more subtle and equally dangerous problem is misalignment. We saw before that a perfectly well-meaning social media recommendation engine ends up creating extremism. You can think of many other examples. Say, if you task an AI to reduce the number of future deaths from cancer, it might calculate that the best way to achieve the goal is to reduce birth rates. Look, we humans often get confused about human values. We cannot assume that AI will get it just right. You might be asking, can't we just unplug AI? Actually, probably not. Firstly, we'll become dependent on AI in the same way that we couldn't live without the internet today. Supermarkets just wouldn't be able to order supplies without the internet. Secondly, the AI is, after all, super intelligent. It will easily anticipate that we want to turn it off. It will hide its intentions until it can make copies of itself or protect itself from being turned off. Not because it's evil, just because it has goals, and being turned off interferes with its goals. So can we keep AI in its chatbot box without access to our physical world to limit its ability to wreak havoc? Not really. Firstly, AI has access to humans, and humans can be manipulated very effectively. But secondly, it's too late. Recently, AIs have been totally unleashed. People are creating agents, giving AIs the agency to browse the web and use computers. Once AIs have computer access, there is no safety net left. A future AI can spread fake news to manipulate humans or hack directly into critical infrastructure. Okay, so we've seen the dangers. Are we taking the right precautions? What are the experts saying? They're worried. They're worried about biological warfare and cyber attacks, general serious danger, cybercrime, bioterror and war, humans losing control, and the extinction of the human race. To be fair, some of those experts are also cautiously optimistic that AGI could work out very well, but they do see huge dangers along the way. Others think we're likely to face doom. But are we protecting ourselves? It should be clear by now that we need to handle advanced AI like we handle enriched uranium. Too much of it without proper safeguards or in the wrong hands could be catastrophic. Nuclear weapons are controlled by international treaties and an international watchdog. It's far from perfect, but somehow it's worked well enough so far and we've avoided all-out nuclear war. How about frontier AI? AI, if anything, may be a lot harder to regulate as the technology keeps getting cheaper and more widespread. There is a bill in the EU, which is a first step. It requires potentially dangerous AIs to provide transparency and control quality and to undergo some assessments. But as it seems now, AGI probably won't be developed in the EU. President Biden tried to provide some protections in an executive order, but President Trump has revoked that. That's significant because it's quite conceivable AGI will be developed during the 4 years of the Trump administration. California is particularly important. Arguably, as of now, the top 3 AI labs in the world are in California. The state did pass a law to provide some regulation of AI, but it was vetoed by the governor. In terms of non-government organizations, OpenAI was actually founded as a not-for-profit dedicated to safety, but it's switching to a normal, for-profit company, and many of its leading safety experts have quit or been fired. One of them, Ilya Satskova, has started SSI, Safe Superintelligence, and raised $1 billion. But we don't yet know if he has a viable plan to bring us to ASI safely. The Future of Life Institute called for a 6-month moratorium on developing frontier AIs to provide time to discuss safety strategies. This was largely ignored. The problem is, we're in an arms race now. President Trump recently announced the Stargate AI project, explicitly making an AI an arms race with China. Remember the nuclear arms race in the Cold War? Caution and common sense were thrown to the wind. America and the Soviet Union built 100,000 nuclear weapons, enough to destroy all of humanity many times over. So now, whenever anyone suggests that we slow down to consider safety, people will argue that if the US slows down AI research with safety precautions, it will give China an advantage, and vice versa. The only thing that can potentially keep an arms race in check is global dialogue and an international treaty. But there's nothing approaching a global consensus on even the need to control AI. That's why it's so important to encourage conversation right now. Okay, so we expect AGI in a few years. What future can we expect beyond AGI? I want to acknowledge that this stuff is very, very hard to imagine. Here we are in 2025. Yes, we have AI and it's intriguing, but so far it hasn't altered our economy or our society in any dramatic way. How can we even imagine that humanity will be completely transformed, for better or worse, within years? It reminds me of COVID in January 2020. At that time, most people outside of China treated COVID as a mere curiosity, but experts modeled the spread of the disease and predicted a devastating pandemic. As always, the data predicts the future much more accurately than human intuition. Well, now the experts are saying that we could be on track for AGI this decade, and that it could be the biggest disruption to the world order since the ascent of mankind to be the most intelligent species. So even if your intuition is to dismiss the threat, I would encourage you to take it very seriously. So what will the world look like when AGI arrives? Two extreme options suggest themselves. If we can control AGI and truly align it with our values, we could enter an era of plenty where AIs and robots work around the clock to produce more goods and services than we've ever seen. And if we're able to share the income, share the goods and services, we could all lead the life of Riley. Superintelligences and robots will cater to our every need. And to boot, they will perform super advanced medical research to improve our health and extend our lifespans. Our biggest issue in that scenario might actually be finding meaning in a life where we have no need to work. But if evil people get their hands on AGIs, or if AGIs are not perfectly aligned with human values, which are anyway very tricky to define, we could face disaster, with AIs directly fighting wars or triggering our society to self-destruct. Recent years have reminded us that our social order can be fragile. The decisions that humanity makes in the next couple of years will be critical to shaping the type of future we have, and whether it looks like utopia, dystopia, or even annihilation. Before signing off, I wanted to acknowledge some of my sources of knowledge and inspiration and the tools that I use. So yes, I think we better have that talk. I've spoken a lot, now it's your turn. If you found this video thought-provoking, please click like and write a comment. I'd suggest you answer at least these questions. Do you think we will ever have AGI? Do you think, based on current trends, it could happen this decade? Do you agree that AGI will upend our job market and economy? And do you think there is a real danger that we could lose control of our society? If so, can we get our act together to regulate this technology and secure a more favorable future?